there was a very strong feel of sense of community. It is also not just through your own uh, path of philosophy or dharma that you follow, but also cross different philosophies.
Hi everyone, welcome to Chai Chats. It's Akil here, and I'm so fortunate and excited to have a conversation with Dhruv Shah today. Dhruv Shah is a software engineer in California, as well as a visual artist and painter whose work always tells a story. Please be sure to check his work via his Instagram page, which will be linked in the comments below. But without further ado, Dhruv, would you like to introduce yourself and maybe explain why you decided to be on Chai Chats today?
Sure. So hi everyone. I'm Dhruv Shah, and I'm an artist first, and then software engineer uh, at working at Apple. Uh, what made me uh, join Chai Chats was its core idea of having conversations around culture and dharma and uh, anything and everything that is Indian. So which makes us what we are, and that was very inspiring and inspiring to me. So that was one of the main reason. And then Akhil being a really good friend and very generous enough to invite me on his child chats, I thought, why not take this opportunity to just have a good interaction. Unfortunately, I don't have a chai with me right now, but which I would have loved. But here we go.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dhruv, for yourself. And I'm so fortunate and happy to have you as a friend and to also know more about some of the inspiration behind the artwork that you do. And you mentioned just now, Dharma and how that's sort of a central pillar to what binds us together, as communities from the Dharmic cultures, the Dharmic religions. So I feel like that's something that we can definitely talk more about. But before we dive into, I guess, some of the core philosophies of the Dharmic cultures and sort of what you take from that, I'm curious to know, you mentioned that, you're originally from Gujarat. And so I'm curious to know what life was like back, if you could rewind us back into your childhood and maybe provide the viewers a bit of a tidbit of what life was like back in Gujarat growing up, culturally, in terms of the, how I guess perhaps Jain culture or Indian culture in general was passed down to you from your parents.
Definitely. Yeah. So I grew up in a small town called Vadnagar, which is in the northern part of western state Gujarat in India. And I was born and raised in that village itself. That is our ancestral village, where my parents, both my parents actually, and both sets of my grandparents also lived there majority of their lives as well. Um, so it has a very strong roots from our family in that particular land. Uh, it's a very small town with a very less population compared to other parts, at least back in 90s. So uh, and also it wasn't well connected with the rest of the world, though we had internet, not internet in a sense, but we had transportation and everything, but it was still a little in its own secluded island type of place, where uh, where everything would happen just within that small area. And growing up, it was very interesting. Uh, we there was a very strong feel of sense of community. It is also not just through your own uh, path of philosophy or dharma that you follow, but also cross different philosophies, like within your local area. where everyone is connected, and in a different areas also you are connected through a different medium of culture or dharma. So it was a very community feel, and everyone mostly knew everyone, and everyone was also dependent on everyone else.
Yeah.
So that was a very interesting and very core upbringing that I had. Like growing up, my parents wouldn't mind dropping us or to a neighbor's house, or not worry about our, like, whether we ate or not, because they knew that the neighbors would take care of it if the kids are running around here and
Yeah.
there. So that was a very interesting and very warm and compassionate environment that I grew up in the village, which is, I think, I've not been to many villages across India, but I assume that that's the case everywhere in all the remote areas of India. And uh, along with that, my daily stuff would be to, like, go to a Jain temple every morning, attend a pathshala. Pathshala is where we gain our learn about our sutras and scriptures, uh, uh, pray to Bhagwan, and then come back, have have food, and then go for school, and then come back in the evening, then play outside with friends, then do your homework, and go back to sleep.
Yeah.
And that was usually the routine. And every Sunday, you still go to a temple, but do a little more extra, like you do puja and a little other rituals that you usually don't do on weekday basis. So that was our main daily routine. And one of the core values that we were taught at the very early age was to um, of ahimsa, where we should always be mindful of not hurting any living being, and minimize your direct or indirect violence that you end up doing to live your life, basically. So minimizing that, and be conscious about your surroundings and people, insects, animals, birds, including vegetation, everything. So all of this, and keeping them into your consciousness and be respectful and towards them was one of the core values that we were taught very early in our upbringing. So, and that also came from parents, from my grandparents, and also through my learning at pathshalas in Jain temple.
And I'm curious, say for some of the viewers that know a little bit about Jainism, but would like to know more about, the cultural aspects of some of the festivities or the celebrations. Would you like to maybe, pick one or two and just give us a little overview of what are some of those celebrations at home that you did?
Yeah. So Jainism in itself has five basic pillars, and and it includes, like, ahimsa, non-attachment, and ekantavad, uh, and aparigraha, which is like not getting attached to things. So so all our activities in Jain culture and all our festivals are always also centered around this particular philosophy. So it one of the so it doesn't involve, like, a lot of out very celebratory nature, like but more on focusing on on your internal self, where you do more, like, you gain more control over your own desires and things like that. So majority of our festivals has this basic nature at its center, where how you can gain attain control over your desires. And one of the biggest festivals that we Jains as Jains celebrate is called Paryushan, and it's a yearly festival that comes around in the month of September, which is 8 days festival in Shwetambar sect, uh, and it is one of the biggest festivals for Jains, and mainly people do is go to temple, pray to God, Bhagavan, do pujas, uh, and then a lot of people observe fasts. So some people would eat only once a day, some people would do twice a day, some people would eat, not have fast, but eat limited in their amount. So one or the other way, just practice or observe the detachment towards your food, or in your conduct as well, like not uh, like pleasury things, like avoid all the sensory pleasury things that physical world has to offer, right? uh, and uh, and just do those rituals for 8 days. Then every evening of those 8 days, we have called pratikrama. It's you can do it by yourself or you can do it in a group, and mainly it is to seek forgiveness for all your knowingly or unknowingly committed sins that you did, either by your mind, by your words, or by your body. So those rituals you do daily, and on the last day, which is called Samvatsari, which is the biggest day, and that particular process, pratikrama, is the biggest one on that day, uh, and then everyone just wishes everyone by the phrase called Michhami Dukkadam, which means that I, from the bottom of my heart, seek forgiveness from you for any bad deeds I did through to you in any form, knowingly or unknowingly, and that's the essence of that. Apart from that, there are other, there are 24 Tirthankaras, and everyone's birth and nirvan anniversaries are celebrated, but the 24th Tirthankar, Bhagwan Mahavir's birth anniversary is celebrated in the month of Chaitra, which falls around March or April, and then their Nirvan Tithi is celebrated on the day of Diwali. So Diwali also holds a very significant place for Jains as a Nirvan Divas for Bhagwan Mahavir. So it's actually a kind of a sad day for Jains, because Bhagwan Mahavir passed away on the day of Diwali. So, and attained Nirvana. Yeah. So yeah, people observe fasts and things I mentioned earlier on that day as well.
I see. And would you say, you mentioned there's, I guess, many sets of practices and rituals, I guess, that are available for, as you said, fasting once a day or twice a day, or seeking forgiveness through your words and through your mind. Would you say it's like each person can have a very different and personal way of doing certain practices that are different from one another? Like, is it, would you say it's very much a personal kind of thing, or is it done in a community type of way?
it is done in a community way, and it is also like, even if you do something by your own, it is still like, see, the reason of having a set of instructions or set of practices is to keep you focused on certain things, and it allows you to not diverge from your goal. So that's the main reason that you have this set of practices which people do in a similar fashion. It is like fasting and everything. It is said that you do it in your capacity. It's not that everyone can do everything. There are people who fast for 30 days. They stay on just water, no food at all. And people perform 8 days, 16 days of fasting. Then there are people who eat twice a day, instead of eating 3 or 4 times a day. They just eat twice a day. So at your own capacity, you can practice, and know how to control your senses. Some people can give up television or sexual activities during those time frame, where this physical sense and sensory pleasure that you get from physical world, some people don't. So it's all these things are done in a capacity, in your own capacity. But the core idea, and when there are things that you do in a when as I mentioned the word pratikarman, those are the rituals, and those are the practices that remains constant for everyone, whether you do it at your home or whether you do it in temple along with the other community members. So that remains constant, and you follow that particular process. Because these rituals and other things, they are not just rituals, but they are words in itself. Like there are shlokas, and there are sutras and all these things that lay down the whole structure of from where to where you have to do, and what kind of uh, 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 forgiveness you need to seek from and that's the main reason that you follow certain rituals.
I see, I see. It's sort of going back to what you first said is, again, these rituals are meant to sort of help either, streamline towards, you mentioned the five sort of tenets of Jainism is
True.
if you're seeking forgiveness. So it's almost similar to, I guess, meditation in a way, right? Of streamlining and sort of having a sort of one set either goal or something in mind. And, you know, these practices allow people to, I suppose, withdraw from material aspects of the world and attain that one thing. Is that sort of what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now I kind of want to shift over to the artwork that you do. I noticed at the introduction you introduced yourself first as an artist and then as an engineer. So I think as well for a lot of viewers or folks on social media that know who you are can definitely say that your work is very inspiring and provides a voice for the Indian community at large. And so I'm curious to know, and I think other people would be curious to know, how did you get into, your artistry? Where did that first begin? If you could take us there.
Yeah. Thank you for appreciating my technique, my artistic skills. I really appreciate that. And I started like scribbling on the ground floor of my house in Vadnagar using chalk pen, and I would just draw shapes and everything that I observed around me. And my parents noticed that I'm good at it, so they just encouraged me that, okay, let him do what he does, and then provide me with the tools in their whatever limited capacity they could. Also, my dad and my mom both have artistic background. So my dad also used to paint, and also have a very good calligraphy background as well, and my mom also has a very good art and craft background as well. So it probably came through the genes, but and also like when I used to as a little kid, 3-4 year old, scribbling on the floor, they didn't find it as a it's a surprising element. They knew that okay, this has come into our kid as well. Now let's encourage him to do it. And in fact, even my brother, he was also a very good artist as well. Like we both started our journey together. He just left it in between, and he focused on other stuffs that interested him more. And I kept pursuing my art on my own, uh, at a very personal level. I was always mesmerized with the intricate designs that came in the calendars, and calendars used to have these Hindu gods and goddesses photos on them, Lakshmi, Ganesh, or Saraswati, and it was always. Anyways, I grew up in an environment where almost all my neighbors were Hindu, and there's always a mix of Jain and Hindu culture, some or the other way, culturally. So we were not foreign to Hindu gods either, and so it was always very inspiring and fascinating to look at those stories. And I started my artistic journey making paintings of and sketches of gods and goddesses, Ganpati or Ganesh, and Durga, Ma Saraswati. And then I also drew a couple of paintings of Lord Mahavir as well after growing up. Krishna was also one of the very fascinating and inspiring character for me as well. I drew a lot of Krishna artworks, from a baby Krishna to a grown-up Krishna to a teen Krishna, and Saraswati, as I mentioned. So, but then as I grew up, I started developing interest in nature and seeing things around. So I ventured into making more landscape paintings, and then I ended up making lots of landscape paintings as well. Sunsets, sunrises, mountains, village scenery. From the little postcards that you get that my mom used to buy for us, and as a references, or newspaper cutouts. And then I would from a small cutout, I'll just make it into a bigger painting. But never went to a art school.
Wow, that surprises me so much, because I think one thing I've noticed from your paintings, whether it be landscapes or even paintings of the Hindu gods and goddesses, like for example, both Ma Saraswati and the Krishna paintings are featured on the Chai Chat page, but it's interesting that you're able to almost draw out the particular emotion that is associated with that god or goddess, which I found really, like, to me, that was, I think, the most touching when you shared with us you showed me the painting of like an abstract Krishna painting, but just immediately you could sense that sort of love and even seeing playfulness from baby Krishna, and you're able to almost capture. It's so interesting, from a painting you can capture the essence of that god or goddess through your work, and for me that's the it's very touching to see how you're able to draw out certain emotions. So I mean, I'm a huge fan.
Thank you. I think it's always the viewer's interpretation, and majorly it's viewer's interpretation than what artist does with it. So I see various reactions from various people on my painting, and it's interesting to learn how people view certain things differently. And
Mm,
I
yeah.
and your point of view and your interpretations has always been very appreciative. So I really admire that. Thanks for that.
Of course, of course. And I think art is also one of those things that does, you know, pass down cultures from generation to generation, right? And even with you painting, the Hindu gods and goddesses and incorporating Indian elements, um, I think that's also perhaps one of the reasons why we see this culture so vibrant as it was, I'm sure, back then and also today, with people still, doing dance, doing theater, doing painting, arts, all of that. So it's very it's it's a special way of connecting to our cultures, I would say, through the arts.
True. Yeah, definitely. Each artist, like if you pick up any regional art, it tells a lot of stories behind what that particular region has to offer.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
so definitely that that is very enriching experience. And as you rightly said, yes, it definitely speaks of our culture too.
Definitely. How would you describe the Gujarati arts and culture scene? I think a lot of us, we're aware of Garba as sort of being, one of the most prominent festivals. Um, do you like in living in America, do you also see a lot of these Gujarati festivals, and are you able to still practice and engage with them here?
I personally had a very different experience of Garba growing up.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, versus what I observed here and also in cities as well, where in our Garba was very much focused on like Ma Durga um, and they all the Garbas were always done outside Ma Durga's temple.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, and you put an idol or a photo of Ma Durga at the center, and then you revolve around it in
Yeah.
a circular fashion. If you don't have enough space to do a circle, then it would just become a long line. But
Yeah.
it is still a loop in a way. So uh, yeah, it was very nice. My both my parents loved Garba, so that also, and almost like every other Gujarati uh, who would love Garba, I liked Garba to go for 9 nights, and
Yeah.
in my village, the Garba would actually start around like late in the night, around 8, 9:30, 10, and then go
Okay.
up to like 5, 6 in the morning.
Wow.
And people would play in the morning and then go back and sleep for a few hours.
Wow,
And
that's
this would happen for nine, 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 9 days straight.
nine
Yeah,
days. Wow, that's a huge celebration, huge party.
yeah, yeah. It's very celebrated. Like everywhere there are toran and everything. Like
Yeah.
people have decorated
Yeah.
streets are decorated, lit, and lots of lamps and everything.
Oh my
So
goodness. I'm born in Canada, and so uh, for us, or just personally, growing up, we would have all of these festivities, but we didn't, understand what the meaning was behind these festivities, right? And I guess only very recently on rediscovering my culture have I been able to explore like the stories, even with the different stories, the artworks with festivities, that there is a lot of deeper meanings that cover or display, in fact, core philosophies of the Dharmic cultures. Um, I'd be curious to hear from you. For younger generations or for youth, um, what would you say to these communities, these younger communities, for how they can, connect with their culture more, especially for us living in North America. I'm curious to hear what you'd have to say.
I would say that learn about whatever culture that you come from in India, and whatever festivities a particular family or a sect follows. Learn about it at a deeper level, what it is, as at least as parents first, and then to kids, so that you can pass that on to your kids, and you can tell them. See, celebrations will differ from person to person, community to community, and then there will be people who would not celebrate it in a dharmic way either. But and it's fine. They can people can celebrate it the way they want it, but at least it is important to teach and make them aware that where exactly this thing is coming from, and what is the true meaning behind that. And I'll give you example of Garba only. The popular notion is that it is a dance form, which has become a dance form, definitely, and it is correct in a way, but the origins are Garbo is the word that comes from the word garb, means a fetus. So we are celebrating Ma Durga's 9 different forms in the form of a fetus. So how we represent in Gujarat is that we use a lamp as a fetus, as a symbolic of fetus, and then put that lamp in an earthen pot or a matki in that, and that matki represents garb, basically, or a womb, basically. And you take that on your head, especially, and then you rotate in a circular fashion, representing time and kal in our dharmic cultures. So that garb has a derivation called garbo. So that pot is actually is called garbo, but the dance that you do associated with has also become now called garba. So it is important to know where exactly it is coming from, so people don't mistakenly end up misrepresenting it or appropriating it in a way which is not beneficial. So I think for a North American community, I think it's important for them, for the older generations, and to learn certain things, where what's the origins of the practices that they do in their families, and then teach their kids that this is the reason that why we do this. And then leave up to the kids what they want to do with that.
For sure. I mean, just now I always knew Garba had to do with the different forms of Ma Durga, but I didn't know even the symbolic translations of using the lamp and what the lamp represents. I think even just instantly knowing that, there's already a shift or a deeper appreciation for Garba, and knowing where it comes from and what it means to the Dharmic community, right? And how it was maybe practiced in ancient times as well.
Even in my village, they still bring that earthen pot in the house, and then they lit the lamp. They light the lamp in it, and then they keep it alive, that lamp, for all 9 days by continuously pouring in oil in it. So it stays on for all 9 days, and then at the end of the 9th night, they go to a nearest lake or pond, and then they do the visarjan of that earthen pot. So you bring in garba. Garba means you bring a garba at home, which is like bringing Ma Durga's in a fetus form, in a womb at home. You celebrate their 9 forms and then do the visarjan. Means basically a bid goodbye to that. So and then the dance, of course, is there every night
Yeah.
too. But that's how a lot of people still do that in India, in Gujarat.
Wow, wow, wow. I mean, I've learned something today, and I think what you said is even for that key piece of when passing this down, having you know, parents have that cultivate that understanding behind the rituals. Because I think that can lead to some of the um misunderstandings behind, right? Because um what I've witnessed or have been exposed to is kids can sometimes dissociate from the culture itself if that understanding is not there, or if the culture has been misrepresented in some way. So I think
Yeah,
when you go back to the story and bring out, as you just said with Garaba, these symbolic elements, I think that immediately sort of shifts how one views that practice is not just a dance form, but also, it comes from a deeper place.
yeah. A lot of times people make mistake of correlating or it with the Western science, and then because when kids grow up here, they in today's day and age, they they learn Western sciences first. So
Yeah.
so their curiosity and their mind is always centered, or their point of view always becomes through Western science lens, which is very good and fine. But as parents, what we end up doing is that we try to find a way to explain to our kids in a more scientific way, and that's where we lose the essence of our practices. That
Mm.
Because a lot of times it would not resonate with the kids who are studying sciences.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't understand it, and that's why they may grow. They may not develop that attachment to those things because they cannot comprehend it with
Yeah.
their knowledge of science, right? So that's one mistake we do as parents, that we teach them through the scientific lens, which we don't have to. Like, we don't have to correlate all our dharmic rituals and things through the lens of science. It has its own place and it has its own meanings. So as we adults, we learn that, and also we teach our kids. That way they
Mm.
that way it keeps an interest going on in the kids, that okay, this is something very different in the world,
Yeah.
people do for different reasons.
Sure. And I think that just goes to show, like, the reasons why these cultures have lasted for thousands of years is because um like, if you were to just do a dance form and just do the dance, that dance can, over thousands of years, will evolve into a completely new genre, for example. But I think what
Yeah,
keeps these, as you said, these core philosophies tied to the arts and the culture is the deeper understanding. And sort of, when you look at one of the, say, stories, even from the Gita, for example, there's a whole set of philosophies and values that each person can take and sort of apply into their own lives. And stories are what sort of keep it fun. I think even just having that aspect of enjoyment, I think, is also just huge in, um, you know, still elevating our senses, but also understanding and doing it in an intentional way, I think. So
absolutely.
I completely agree.
Yeah, that's a very well put thought.
So this is bringing us to the end of our conversation. I'm so honored to have you, Dhruv, come on to Chat Chats and uh, share with us more, about your cultural upbringing and how Dharma and Jainism has impacted and influenced both your personal life, but also life as a parent, life in the career workforce and as an artist. So it's been a pleasure chatting with you, and I'm so glad to have you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Akhil. Thanks for inviting me. It's an honor to and pleasure itself to be part of Chai Chats and share my stories. It was a very candid and candid conversation, and I hope to continue make more art and do my service to my people and my dharma, and hope to get featured again on Chai Chats.
100%, and we wish you all of the best. Thank you again.
Thank you.